Okay, so I'm back. I'm gonna be going live with Katie Perez, as I said before. Um, if you like these videos, you can follow my Instagram, or you could subscribe to my YouTube as I put them up there later. You gotta turn your camera around.
There we go.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Not terribly tech savvy, but I'm good. How about you?
So it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I don't think Instagram has the capability to do laptop yet for whatever reason. But for people who, if there's anyone watching this who doesn't know who you are, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure. Hello, I'm Katie Perez. Also go by Makina Assassina is my fight name. I am an atom weight 105er for InvictaFC.
Now, I saw you have quite a bit of experience when you combine amateur and pro, and you recently signed with Invicta. I think the first two fights you didn't win the fights. Just kind of looking back on it, as you're doing like self study or self scout, what were some of your thoughts coming away from those first two fights in Invicta?
Oh man, so both of those have a plethora of lessons for me, but I mean every fight does. Any fight that you win or loss, anything. If you didn't learn something from it, you didn't do it right. Um, but absolutely, I'm not proud of my performances thus far in Invicta. I've definitely, where I have failed is the mind game. I've definitely not been strong enough in my work mentally to prepare for things, to really embrace who I am and what got me there. I've been trying to be perfect. I've been trying to do this. It's something that we work with a lot, and it's something that's said a lot, I think, in, I mean, all sports, but especially fighting. It comes up all the time. People are like, oh, it's 10% physical and 90% mental work, and all we do is work out really hard, and we work on our cardio and our conditioning, and we get sparring rounds, and we do all the classes and everything like that, and that mental aspect gets neglected in a lot of cases. I think it's been picked up almost culturally more. And I know it's something that's always been a focus for me, but even now, more so than ever, um, my physical training, the techniques that I know, the conditioning that has prepared me, none of that has ever failed me, and all of my failures in fights have stemmed from being afraid to commit, or not being who I am and trying to do something different, or just rushing and getting overwhelmed. So, yeah, absolutely. I think about those performances a lot. I review them quite a lot, and they come up in my mental work, in my conversations, everything that I do. They come up all the time because 100% of my focus is to give an amazing performance, my best performance every single fight. So every single fight should exceed the last by a landslide, and I didn't do that. And I apologize to everyone who watched that. I apologize to my team, to my coach, to Shannon, who has been very gracious and encouraging of, like, I don't think you did poorly. I think you put a performance on that you could be proud of. I want to prove that that is sub basement to what I want to bring, to what I'm going to bring.
Now, what do you think? Like you had mentioned some things about the mental approach or why you kind of weren't yourself. Maybe you could give like some specific examples of that, or something maybe overall.
Sure. So I'm a fairly anxious person. Training and fighting is kind of the only place I feel really truly at peace, which is a big part of what attracted me to and kind of addicted me to training and fighting. Is that it's this, like, for all that it's violence and it's chaos and it's craziness, it's also just incredibly peaceful. It's very simple. The rules are very, very clear. It's not like a social situation where you don't know all the ways that things are interact and play out. It's like it's just a very, very simple game, and it's a very clean, clear matching of wills and of strengths, and I love that. I love that very honest competition. It's kind of the only time that everything is so imperatively right now that you can't be anxious about the future. You can't be thinking about the past. You have to exist in the moment, or you're going to get steamrolled by, especially at the level of competition that I've been experiencing in Invicta. Just very high quality fighters, and they've all come to put on their best performance, and it's inspiring. It's also very challenging, and it pushes me to do better. I think in particular, like if I was going to be really specific about it, I have a habit of building up my opponents and tearing down myself. Psychologically, I'm like, oh, they're amazing, and they did, all this great stuff to be here, and they're just, like they're killers, and they're savage, they're awesome, they're like my heroes. And then I on some level have failed to do that for myself, to say, hey, look at all this I've achieved, that I'm here too. They decided that I should be signed to this amazing promotion, that I should have this opportunity. It's a failing of mine, and it's a habit of mine that I'm working to break, because it has no place in my mind anymore. There's no space for that. I have no leftover real estate for that kind of self-doubt anymore. But it's very much been a part of my psyche, I guess, since like grade school, and then especially college. It kind of got worse and worse. I would look down on myself. You go from being a little kid, and people tell you can do anything you set your mind to. And then, like, as time goes on, they're like, okay, maybe have a plan B. Don't go like all eggs in the one basket. On that crazy wild dream of yours. Make sure you have like a way to make money, and maybe pursue your passion as a hobby on the side for fun. Like everybody does. Make money doing something you don't really love, and then have some so that you can play around a little bit. But I think anything in life that you don't commit to 100% isn't going to give you any of that success that you want from it. And it's pretty, again, it's a simple currency. If you go all in on this thing, it's the only way that you can get everything you want out of it. But if you go all in, it's not a guarantee. Even if I like dedicate every second of every day, the stars might not align, but the fact of the matter is, if I don't dedicate every second of every day, I'll never know if it was me or if it was circumstance. And I'm determined to make it not circumstance, to make it not me. Sorry, that was really poorly worded, but like, I don't want to get to a point in my life where I can look back and say, maybe if I tried a little harder, or maybe if I'd taken that chance, or if I'd not committed to my day job so much. I took the time off to make sure that I was like training consistently. I'm in a place where I'm very, very fortunate to be able to train every day, to be able to afford super clean, healthy eating and stay on my diet to be able to do these things. I'm very, very, very fortunate in that, and I'm super grateful. And I don't want to squander the opportunities. I don't want to squander my natural talent. I don't want to squander the gifts I've been given and the incredible training I've received. And it's been a bastion of like comfort for me to think, success in MMA, it doesn't come down to like something you're born with. It's 100% hard work, and I still believe that. I don't think I have like a natural aptitude for specific techniques of fighting or anything like that. I just think that I have a spirit that's very conducive to fighting. I just am a fighter in my soul, in my heart, and it's something that I've been able to forge my body into. And everyone has advantages, disadvantages, height, reach, anything like that. Like all that stuff comes into play, but at the end of the day, it's who you are and what you have inside. And I've leaned so heavily on it's not about what you have going into it. It's the work that you put in, that I've failed to acknowledge that I've achieved a lot, in the relatively short time that I've been seriously training MMA and, competing and putting in the work. I have achieved a lot, and it is something I should be proud of and recognize and use to spur me onward, not to say, okay, I'm kind of a nobody. I'm kind of just like this girl who's like maybe okay at this stuff sometimes. It's like, no, I am a fighter, and I do deserve to be here, and I don't need to be tearing myself down. That's what my opponent is for. Like, she's here to do that. She's here to beat me up. And I should give her the respect. I should give myself the respect. I should give my team and my coach and my family and everybody who believes in me. I should give them the respect and the love of showing up to do the same in return, you know, and not being against my own team.
But I mean, when you signed with Invicta, you know it was, you know, that's probably the second highest competition venue for women, maybe one. You might consider that as well. But so you knew you already, or were you telling yourself, well, maybe I don't deserve to be in Invicta too? Or were you saying those things? Or?
I was really, really trying to embrace it. I've always struggled with a bit of that imposter syndrome. You know, it's like I could be doing anything, and I'm like, I'm still okay. I'm an adult, right? I've been paying bills and living on my own for quite some time now, and I'm still like waiting for people to notice that I'm just a kid pretending to be an adult. Like, still waiting for someone to call me out on that. It's like, I'm 28 years old. You know, it's you're here. And that's something as, you know, fundamental and factual as just my age, like the fact that I've been alive this long. So when it comes to embracing and accepting accolade or any kind of recognition of skill level or of aptitude, like wherever I'm supposed to be, it's even harder. And I think it's some of it is, and I don't want to, like, this is not a knock on the way I was raised or anything like that. I think the way I took the way I was raised, of being humble, which is absolutely a good thing, and I believe in it, and I will always be it, because that is who and what I am. But you can take it too far. You can turn a virtue into a vice by overdoing it. And when that humility turns into, like, self-flagellation, like, oh, I'm just worthless. Like, not just, you know, I'm no better than anyone else. You also forget that you're no worse than anyone else. Like, every single person has the same amount of value, the same importance, is inviolable right and respect, and deserves that. And it doesn't matter if you're the president of a country, or if you're a chimney sweep, or if you work in Walmart, or if you're a high-class chef. None of this stuff, like elite world athlete, some guy that works at 7-Eleven, every single person has the same amount of value. And I have a tendency to put people on pedestals and simultaneously, like, put myself down in a hole. So even though, yes, I did have this external reinforcement of being signed to Invicta, it was like this dream come true, this wild, amazing, beautiful opportunity, I neglected to accept the part where they accepted me. They chose me to sign on the dotted line. It wasn't like I accidentally in there and, like, stole a contract and wrote my name on it and, like, got lucky. I'm not like a con man. It's like, I'm a fighter, and I campaigned for myself, and my coach campaigned on my behalf, and, like, all, you know, these things I put on the performances, and they said, hey, you need to get another win, and I went and got my win, and they're like, okay, so here we go. And I neglected to accept my part in that. So it's something I work very much on embracing, even in the gym. You know, I don't know how familiar you are with the jiu-jitsu ranking system, or the way, you know, like, and I don't mean you in particular, just kind of like people in general, but, like, I have a hard time accepting my seniority or my rank in the hierarchy of the gym when people look to me for help or for advice or for anything. And I'm like, whoa, you know, like, go to coach, or, like, go to somebody else who's, you know, and I need to accept that. That's part of it. Is, you know, when you reach, you think about a totem pole, right? The person on the very bottom of the totem pole is the person who's holding everybody up. That's actually the most important job. So, like, being low on that totem pole and being a support system is how you're supposed to carry high rank and things like that. And even in the gym when we're sparring, I have a hard time. I respect and love my teammates so much, and I'm so impressed by the work they've put in and the quality of performance that they can put on. And when we work together in Shark Tanks or spar, you know, any kind of work together, you know, wrestling night, anything like that, I sometimes am so in awe of my teammates, I forget, like, hey, I'm good at this stuff too. I'm a challenge for them. Like, I should be doing well here. And it's not about winning and losing, especially with your teammates. It's not about winning or losing in training. Your only wins and losses come from yourself or with yourself when it comes to training. But like, I'll write myself off. I'll be like, oh, like I'm little and they're big and strong and they're really good and they're just gonna like beat me up for this next 5 minutes. Oh, okay. Whereas I should be, like, what a cool challenge for me. I get to work with someone whose reach is like this much longer than me, and they're so good. They're such good training partners, and they're gonna keep me safe. So this is like a good time for me to do that. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in excuses, to get wrapped up in putting yourself down and forgetting that you're there too. You belong there, and that's it's an easy thing to backslide on. So it takes that constant work, that constant like staying in and on it, and it's something I've been working on a lot, and I'd like to think I'm improving it. And actually, no, strike that. I know I am improving at it. So I look forward to seeing my consistency and improvement in the gym and how that's going to translate into my performances moving forward.
I mean, you had a lot of success before those fights, and what would you look at when you say improve? What is it is it just thinking about things, or how do you go about improving something where you're saying, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this? Or how do you get over that? Do you talk to somebody or what? Or
Yeah, I talk to my coach a lot. He's incredibly patient with all of us at the gym. It's kind of like we have this sort of cool relationship where like you can be having a rough day and drop by the gym and talk to coach for 20 minutes or 3 hours. Like it just like whatever happens. And I talk with him a lot. Sometimes it's during private sessions, like when you get training in. Sometimes it's just like we'll have an agreement, like, hey, let's meet up for lunch on Friday, or over just like chat over the weekend. A lot of kind of that almost sports psychology talk, but it's also just like general life psychology and like self-valuing and things like that. As far as like success in the cage and like the physicality of it goes, like you can never be too good at MMA. Like you can always improve. You can look at any aspect of I don't care if you're like a jiu-jitsu specialist and you like very specifically have this amazing game off of your back. It's like, okay, well, how do you get to those positions? How do you manipulate it so that you're not taking damage in those positions? How do you, things like that. You can always improve. And if you're kind of, more well-rounded, obviously you can improve in every single aspect at all times. There's martial arts is the pursuit of perfection, understanding that we'll never be perfect, and it's cool because stuff will come up where like you'll have an injury or you'll not be feeling well some days, or like you'll just kind of be like super tired because you had to get up extra early for work, or whatever. And those are all opportunities. Usually there's some kind of opportunity for you to work on something that you've been avoiding because your excellence in another area means you don't usually have to deal with that. Like if you're super aggressive and good at like rushing the shot, you might be neglecting your striking. And that's, all well and good until you find someone who's really good at keeping that distance on you, and then you have to learn how to use that striking to get in. Or vice versa. You might be amazing at your striking and never get taken down, but if you don't work that takedown defense, you'll find that one person who can get past your hands, and then you have to deal with that. So yeah, there's always ways to be improving, and that's something I really love about it. Every single day in the gym is a wonderful opportunity to learn. Like every single hour, I'm absorbing new information, and that's like I want to learn things all the time. Like that's I kind of got in trouble in college for taking too many classes. I just love learning, but so as far as like skills and techniques and all of that goes, that's a never-ending journey. I'll never be done. I'll never be complete with that. And I love that. I'm so glad because I get bored really easily when I feel like I've topped out in something. And it's wonderful to be a part of something that I will literally never top out in. There will always be people who are better than me in some aspect who have something to teach me. And I love that. I love getting to learn. And then, beyond that, like you're saying, I do talk to my coach regularly about how to apply the new concepts I'm working with as far as like valuing myself, believing in myself, I know that sounds really cheesy, like, oh, just believe in yourself and boom, there it is. But like, honestly, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like my strength and conditioning is always in a good place. The techniques that I'm going over and the ways my coach fine tunes and tightens my game, and it just evolves every cycle. It just evolves, and every single day, it's better in some way. Sorry, I made a noise. But being able to apply those concepts under pressure and learn how to be calm in my mind, even when my body is like operating at a high kind of stress environment, and when it's at that high level, that's what I'm really working on, is that flipping the switch between those modes and being able to control myself emotionally more than anything. Because like there's a point where emotion is really super useful, and there's a point where emotion becomes like a really big problem. It kind of, you sort of have to know who you are, who you're working with, what kind of emotion it is, and like you have to let it come and wash over you and go, and you can use it as fuel, but you can't let it use you. You can't let it use you, and then you're doing stupid stuff because you're mad or because you're scared or because you're whatever. You can't allow that emotion to ride you. You kind of have to use it and then discard it and then fall back on your techniques and always fall back to that clean, good skill and let who you are drive what you're doing. That's gonna.
Now, how soon would you want to compete in Invicta again?
Oh, absolutely, immediately. I'd fight this weekend if they had one. Yeah, I'd fight tomorrow. Like I'll make weight. I don't care. I'll figure it out. I love fighting. I need to, honestly, especially after those previous performances. I need to get it back. I need to fix it. That's something I can't do. I'll never get to go back and correct that mistake. But what I can do is make a stand moving forward on how I want to be, how I want to operate, and the kinds of fights that I'm going to be putting forth. So, I can't dwell negatively in that kind of like, oh, woe was me, I did bad, and now I'm sad. But I do have to use it and say, yeah, I want to fight right now. Like, I don't care the opponent. I don't care if it's next weekend. I will be there. Call me, I'll be there. Always. I'm always on weight, always eating clean. Like, I cheat usually once a week, Saturday night, and it's still usually like vegan and clean. It's just I don't measure it. That's it. Like, that's my idea of cheating. Like, for the most part, it's just like, this is my life. This isn't like a thing that I do for fun. This isn't, although it is fun. This isn't a thing that I do on the side. It's not like, oh, I'm a, airplane parts quality control manager, but I like to fight, so I do that sometimes. I was like, no, I'm a fighter, and I do other things to supplement my fighting career and passion and existence. But that's who and what I am. That's what I've made myself into, and that's what I'm going to do until someday, presumably, some doctor tells me I can't do anymore. That's it.
But I mean, did you and your coach kind of say, okay, we'll fight again in this amount of time, or was it always whenever the next one comes, we're going to do it?
Oh, we do have conversations about, like letting my game evolve fully in between fights and allowing that to be a part of I don't want to say the strategy, but like, you don't want to be foolish with your career, and like take 2 fights back to back, and then you have head trauma that doesn't really heal properly, and you have issues like that. There's always that safety conscious, and longevity kind of vibe. But, the reason that I'm doing this and the intensity level that I want to be doing this at is I want to get to the very top. Like, I want to prove to myself, to the world, that I can be and am a top athlete, that I can be and am the best at my weight class. I want to make a stamp on this world. Like, that's something I was terrified to even dream about, just a few years ago. And, even now it's like a nervous soap bubble dream, but it is still like a fiery core at the center of me. And it drives me through awful hard workouts. It drives me through my, everything, every day that I wake up is about this. And it's, even when it's hard to believe in myself, it's not hard to believe that that's what's driving me, that that's the core of me, and that I will be unfulfilled Like if I live my life and I don't go for this, I will die unfulfilled. And I'm not prepared to have that kind of regret. So um, I'm a big believer in opportunity. And, while we do have those discussions and it's like, oh, we want to make sure that game evolves or I'm in a good place or like I don't want to accept something like a week after I've had a big injury and I'm going to be like limping through a fight or something. I'm sick or like, that stuff doesn't come up very often. Very fortunate for me. I think I'm, again, a big believer in that like nutrition and proper care and good recovery takes care of a lot of that as far as being able to accept opportunities as they arise. But, at the end of the day, I am a big believer in opportunity. And when it comes knocking, someone calls and say, hey, can you make this, next weekend? I know it's short notice or it's with an opponent and like, I don't care. I don't care who it is. Yes, I want it. Yeah. I'm a fighter. It's who I am. There's probably smarter ways to play the game than the way I want to do it, but I want to fight. I want to fight everybody. I honestly want to fight every atom weight who's active. Like it's just very much a part of me. I want to see how we stack up. Like I just think that's cool. I think that's what we're here to do. We're fighters, Like I'm not trying to be like really political about it in terms of like making sure I pick good matches for me where like I don't want to pick a fight with someone where I think I don't think they have a chance. That's not what we do. And I've never fought anybody like that. I've only ever fought people that massive challenges. Like you don't want to say, oh, I climbed a mountain. It was 3 feet tall. You want to say I climbed Mount Everest. I climbed Mount Mitchell. I climbed like this crazy glacier. Like the goals that I have are epic, and I want to fight all the atom weights. I think they're just all so badass, and I want to be a part of that.
What were you studying in college?
Everything. So my official degrees were I had a split focus double major in the School of Stage and Screen through the Honors College at Western Carolina University for performance and design tech, and then I also studied writing and I was very close to an English degree, but I got a marketing minor at the School of Business with a focus on social media. So you'd think I'd be better at things like Instagram Live, but here we are.
You seem like really smart. So
I don't know
everyone I've known,
Pardon?
everyone I've known who's like you, like they got jujitsu like nobody's business. Like because they could just pick it apart. Like me, I'm not like that, but I have friends like that could just, everything that had to do with the little intricacies, they pick it all up because they were just incredibly intelligent. So I think that's probably what you're doing along the way, or,
I think my love of learning and my intense curiosity helps me a lot, and it keeps me honest when I have questions, because sometimes I'll, like, especially, when I first joined the gym and I was really like nervous and awkward and shy, like I wouldn't ask questions because I didn't like want to stand out, but I also wouldn't answer questions. So when coach would ask the class, be like, hey, what does, so-and-so need here? And I would think, oh, we need the underhook, obviously far side underhook. But I wouldn't say it because I was like, I don't want to like stand out and be that person. But I'm kind of in a place now where it's just like, I'm here to learn, and I don't care if I'm wrong in front of everybody. I also don't care if I'm right in front of everybody. Like I'm here to learn jiu-jitsu, or Muay Thai, or whatever class that I'm in, and I don't want to let that like my perception of how people might think of me based on something like that's too many steps. It's too much to worry about. They're gonna see what they're gonna see. They probably don't care at all. Like I don't really think much when someone else asks a question, unless it's like, ooh, that's a good question. Like that's. I'm in a place where I no longer really care if I look foolish in front of people, because it's kind of like, that's what I'm here to do. At least in like the education setting, because that's where I need to be learning, and you have to be okay with failure when you're trying to learn something, because if you already knew how to do it and you weren't about to fail, you already know what you're doing and you don't need to learn it. So if it's new information, it should be kind of like I don't quite understand. I think a lot of jiu-jitsu comes fairly easily to me, but mostly because I've been doing it for so long. I started martial arts when I was a little kid, when I was like really little, and I did it many years, with Mike Carr Karate. He was my first instructor. Mr. Mike, we didn't call it, sometimes Sensei, but like we never called him like Master Mike. You know, it was just Mr. Mike, and he was an amazing, amazing mentor. Yeah, we actually passed away a few years ago, and it was really hard for me to deal with in terms of he was this like mountain of a man. Like I couldn't see weakness in him. He was always just this powerful person to me. Like again, I tend to put people on pedestals. I didn't really give him permission in my mind to be human in some ways, so that was really hard to deal with. But I've been really fortunate with my new gym. When I got into MMA, I walked into Combat Fitness. I'm with Team Phoenix. I met Coach Graham Prue, and he's been similarly just an incredible mentor. Just in love with the sport, in love with the craft, the art of martial arts. Sometimes you get people who they're really good encyclopedias in terms of they know all the moves and all their names and all their the ways they break down, the cool ways to transition between stuff, but they don't necessarily get the art of it. They don't feel the weight of tradition. They don't feel the weight of the discipline, honor, integrity as the basis for everything they do, and the concepts and the way it all flows together. I'm incredibly fortunate to have that be the core of the way that my coach, and most of us do just call him coach. It's weird for me to say his name now, but that's the way that he teaches. That's the way that he operates the gym. That's just the person that he is. So I'm very fortunate in that. I think I do occasionally come across some stuff in whether it's technique in jiu-jitsu or it's a sequence, and I'm I don't quite get how I get from this hip all the way over that shoulder, up and over, and then there's another thing, it'll be a sequence, and I'm doing something a tiny bit wrong, and I can't quite make it happen because I'm so much littler than all of my training partners most of the time. And then as soon as it locks in and it's perfect and it works, I'm oh, okay, cool. Now I understand. I think people just have different strengths and weaknesses. I feel kind of dumb in striking class a lot. I'll eventually get something, but it takes me a number of repetitions, and then it's locked in for good. But it just takes that number of repetitions, and I have to be willing to feel really silly for X number of of reps of that drill, and then eventually it all clicks. I'm oh, okay, cool. So yeah.
You were talking about fighting atom weights, and I kind of brought this up when we were talking offline here, was about, one, which just happened the other day. So you had a couple of significant matches, Harada versus Radzuan, which I don't know if you, that fight, Radzuan really took it to Harada later in the fight with the rest of the fight. And then you had Lee versus Stamp. Now, Lee versus Stamp and Rod Tong versus Demetrius Johnson, I thought were kind of similar because, and I'm talking to her about this because she hadn't seen the fight, so I'm just kind of.
I appreciate it. You've been pretty. I agree.
I had guys saying, "Oh, these are tag champions. They can clinch with wrestlers." They couldn't. When they got into these clinch situations, whether it be Rod Tong with Johnson or Stamp with Lee, they couldn't. They got beaten in those positions. They got taken down in those positions and controlled in those positions. So it really came away feeling like one of the things that you're talking about with MMA, where people are training everything, they don't have to make big adjustments in what they're doing from one round to the next. That's where, with Rod Tong, he came out completely different in the second round because of the rule set. And I think Stamp had affected her fight too, not because of the rule set, but because she knows Angela Lee's strength is more on the ground, I would say. But it's something I think is going to be hard for them to get over, is dealing with people who can, kind of get the better of them in the clinch. Wrestlers, that have advanced knowledge of I think people don't understand that wrestlers have an incredible knowledge of the clinch. They have their clinch, the offensive clinch, but wrestlers have an incredible knowledge of the clinch. And, I think that a good to great wrestler is going to get the better of a tie, especially when they have a cage. And I think the fight's played out that way. What have you seen fighters like Lee and Stamp? I'm sure you've seen both of them fight. What do you think of those two?
Well, I think that's something a lot of people don't realize is that yes, so take Muay Thai, incredible art. You take kickboxing or boxing, incredible art. The sport of it, very competitive, very very precise. And yeah, I mean your top level strikers of those arts are gonna be better strikers than someone who trains everything, just by nature of the fact that they can put 100% of their time into their striking, and someone who's training everything can only do so much. Like you only have so much bandwidth. You can't do 100% striking and 100% jiu-jitsu. It's just not how percents work. Same thing if you take like a jiu-jitsu, specialist, someone who goes out and like does does worlds, like just someone who does really well in a pure jiu-jitsu setting, and then put them in a cage and add punches, and it's like, oh, this is a very different game. When you start putting all those things together, and I think people don't realize is that MMA is not the different arts like sandwiched up against each other. It's a blending. It's very much flowed together. People are sewing. They're just weaving in elements of each, whether it's wrestling, whether it's Muay Thai, elbows, anything. MMA is not the different martial arts in the same arena. MMA is its own art in the same way that jiu-jitsu is distinct from judo, and they look very similar, in the same way that tennis is distinct from badminton. Very similar looking games. There's a racket, there's a thing to hit over a net, but it's not the same game at all. And if you took like a world-class tennis player and you made them play ping pong, they'd be not doing so hot against moderate to average ping pong players. There'd be some transferable skills, eye-hand coordination and understanding of the way the racket works, of how to swing your arm. But end of the day, the person who understands that sport is going to succeed in it. And that's kind of, I think, what we see there, where they're, world-class athletes, and they're incredibly talented and skilled, and they obviously put in the work and the time into their sport, but something is lost in the translation. And if they're fighting in an unfamiliar format, and it's not something that they train every day, there's going to be some loss of quality there, and they're going to suffer for that. It's always something they're going to have to fight against. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting. Like, I think your average person who maybe doesn't train a lot or at all would think that the clinch is a strength of a Thai against anybody. But
yeah.
Really, in these two fights, Lee took Stamp to the clinch. Mm-hmm. That's where she exploited Stamp. Out in the open, she almost got finished within the first 30 seconds. Yeah. Stamp with a body shot, she keeled over. But she took the fight to the fence to win. She clinched to win the fight. And I think I've always felt a good wrestler, they know the clinch as well as they just don't know how to be offensive with punches, kicks, knees, elbows. They know how to take people down from it. Like
Absolutely.
Control to control, like control point 1 to 2. Not kneeing, punching, elbowing. But when it comes to overhooks, underhooks, clinching, they know it as well as anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think Johnson, the same thing. When he got into the fight with Rod Tong in the second round, it was over that fast because he's not going to be able to stop Johnson's takedowns. He only needed one. He knew that, and the fight was over that fast. But in the first round, Muay Thai round, Johnson did very well. Clinching, striking, he did very well against Rod Tong. So it's amazing that MMA fighters, like I said, they don't really have to change what they do because they train so much.
Yeah.
He was very effective in the first round against Rod Tong. He was probably one of the most dangerous Muay Thai people on the planet. Johnson was very effective. But in the second round, Rod Tong was not effective at all, It was easy for Johnson to beat him. And I think some of that showed in the Lee fight as well. When Lee got the fight to a place where it should be a strong point for Stamp, it was not. Lee was above her. And then on the ground, Stamp showed some good escapability, actually. I thought she's improving. I think, she's kind of flexible. You can tell she's really flexible. She does a lot of dancing and whatnot. But, she escaped from maybe 2 or 3 submissions that were pretty close. But it's like, you know how it is. You escape from something, somebody puts you right back in danger again. It's kind of like, you got to start over. Yeah, and eventually she was, overwhelmed. But I thought that part was really interesting. Clinch
Hmm.
versus clinch, wrestlers clinch versus ties clinch. And in both
Yeah,
cases, the wrestler got the better of the tie, and
yeah,
not
they're very different.
the champion. The
Hmm.
best of the best. So I thought that was it. What do you think of Lee and Stamp? Like you said, you wanted to fight all atom weights. What do you
Hmm.
think of those two?
Oh, I think they're both incredible athletes. I'd be honored and love the opportunity to fight them. I think it would just be a blast. I think obviously, like you're saying, they have different things to offer. You've got Stamp is just incredible, striking. And that would be such a unique challenge, and it's kind of like you're saying. MMA fighters, because they train so broadly, don't have these big adjustments to make, particularly if they're kind of receiving the same like input the whole time. And the corner's like, okay, they're dropping their right hand every time they shoot in, so make sure you get them with it, whatever. Um, it becomes more precise and technical, more fine-tuney stuff. Often you have different specialists in a single gym. Like you'll have it either goes like one of two ways, where it's cookie cutter, where everybody kind of is the same because they all train the same and that's how it is. Or I know at our gym, every single person brings something super different to the table, whether it's because they did wrestling in high school, or they always liked boxing, or they just have a natural aptitude for this type of movement and in and out, or like they're super crazy and they have this like wild hip flexibility and they do crazy stuff on the ground. They're always inverted. Like everybody brings something unique to the table. You get all these different looks. So by the time you meet someone in the cage who does have a very like specific kind of game plan, uh, you've kind of already seen that before, and it's part of what makes the game so cool, and so beautiful. In that, like, if I have a strength in one area and I make my whole mission getting the fight to that area, it's a challenge, and it's really just interesting. Like, how do we get there? How do we solve this puzzle? Um, yeah, I mean, both of those it would be an honor. I would love to.
Who are some of the other atom weights that you pay attention to, just off the top of your head?
um, so like I pay attention to in terms of like I keep my like uh I think a lot of people have noticed on Twitter. Jillian DeCourcy and I are always like kind of chattering back and forth on Twitter. We fought before. It was my pro debut. She won. It was uh a really cool fight, that I learned a lot from. That I wish had been in a better mental space before to like really give that one a different look. And I'd love to run it back, but like not in a mean kind of way. It's not like I have no animosity towards any of the other atom weights. Like there's no sense of like I just want to fight her and tear her face off her. But I also kind of have to keep this distance, because this combat sports is not like, it's not like you can be real friendly. Do you know what I mean? Like you can absolutely respect each other, and I think you'll see that most MMA fights end, even if these two people have been like spitting acid at each other before the fight, and then they were just cruel to each other during the fight. Usually they hug it out afterwards, just because it's like you just shared this really intimate, bizarre thing, in this combat, and it's over now, and there's that almost sense of relief, where you shared something and it was super intense, and now it's done. Um, I mean, obviously, Jessica Delboni, the current champ. I'm always going to be kind of keeping an eye on whoever's on top and where things play out. And obviously, the fighters I've fought before, lost to before, I keep an eye on, just because it's like an opportunity there would be something that I want. I don't want to ever be someone who shies away from something like, oh, she beat me that time and now I'm scared. It's like, no, I want to fight everybody. I want to get it back. As far as like keeping tabs on anyone in particular, I watch a lot of atomweight fights. I do it partly to kind of like remove the mysticism of it for me. Like I was saying before, that imposter syndrome of like, oh, they're amazing and I'm just me. I'm this girl from Summerfield, North Carolina. Like no one's ever heard of that town. you know, I'm just this girl from North Carolina and I'm nobody. It's like, well, no, everybody's just from somewhere. It's just like a geographical location. It doesn't really matter. Um, it's the quality of performance that you bring, and the type of person that you are, and how hard you're willing to work and bring it. So I watch a lot of atomweight fights, just to take away that like, oh, they're magically good. and I'm just here. It's like, no, we're competitive. That's why we're in the same arena. That's literally why we're in the same place. Like, is for a competition. So I watch a lot of atom weights fights, but I don't really keep tabs on any one particular career. Like as I said, I do want to take my career once. I want to take it quickly, in terms of like I want to be very, very active and I want to remain active. But I'm not like, oh, I want to fight number 5, and if I beat her, I want to fight number 2, and then if I beat her, I want to like fight the champion and then just be the champion. Like I want to fight everybody. Like I want to. Whatever number I am, I don't even know how rankings work half the time. It feels like a popularity contest, and I've never been particularly good at those. But like whatever number I am, I want to fight one number above me, and then one number above her, and then one number above her. I want to fight everybody. I want to fight. Like I'm a very simple creature when it comes down to it. I just want to fight.
Do you think that's coming likely or soon or?
I have a feeling. There's something in there in the works for me. I can't say where or when, and that's I can't say it because I don't know it. But I'm always staying ready, staying prepared, and as I said, I'm a believer in opportunity, and I believe opportunity comes when you work for it. So I'm here to make my opportunities. So. I'm quite certain I'll be fighting soon. I can't tell you when. I can't tell you, but it's kind of like I know the sun's gonna rise. I know I'm gonna fight soon. It is what it's gonna be.
Now, as we're kind of winding down the interview, I kind of like to let people, if you have something that maybe we didn't talk about or something you think that's important, or where people can follow you, things like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, following me, it would be super cool. I appreciate it. Katie Makina Assassina is on Instagram. Twitter, it's KT, but it's not spelled out. It's literally just K and then T, like just those 2 letters, and then Makina Assassina. And then I have a Facebook as well. They're all kind of like different platforms in terms of like the content you'll get there. So kind of like figure out what you like and then be there. As I said, I don't have like a specific fight date to be like, oh, come watch me or something. But my teammates are competing Titans of the Cage this upcoming weekend, so I'm very excited for Brandon, Dimitri, and Deontay. They'll all be fighting. It'll be a debut for one of them. It'll be a title fight for another. So definitely support your local amateur shows, your local pro shows. Like if there's live MMA near you, support that. Go see it. Go pay for tickets. Live stream it if you can. Like it's just a good way to love on the sport and to get to see some really cool fights from people before they blow up big, or you never know where someone's career is going to go. But it's always cool to be a part of that. I could do thank yous. Thank yous take me forever because I have so many people. But kind of like a big round version of that is a thank you to my coach. As I said before, Coach Graham, sort of the Team Phoenix, to my family. My family kind of extends beyond just like my blood family. Like obviously my parents are amazing. I love them, but like so many people are in my life, and I would consider them family in terms of how we care for one another in the community that we have. And I think they know who they are. My sponsors are fantastic. I am always kind of like on the lookout for other sponsors in terms of, or additional sponsors in terms of like being able to.
One second, I think I lost your connection for a moment. Hold up just a moment. I'll bring her back here. So if you guys have any questions you want to ask while I'm getting Katie back on here. I saw that Skylar had asked something. see if I can bring Katie back in here. Okay. So I got you back to the line for a moment. That's okay. So you were kind of talking about your sponsors.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I apologize. That's really embarrassing. Yay, technical difficulties. I have an amazing massage therapist in Alexa Garcia at Amo Massage. If you're ever in Greensboro, North Carolina, she's definitely the one to go to. My chiropractor, Summerfield Family Chiropractic, Dr. Brown is amazing. I trust him completely with my spine health, and that's really saying something. A supplement nutrition supplement warehouse over at Complete Nutrition in Friendly Center. They hooked me up with all my supplements, and I'm super appreciative of them. They really helped me out in the protein department. But yeah, I mean, I have amazing people in my life and these opportunities. As far as things to say, I would just say keep an eye out. It's everything about who I am and what I do is about improvement. It's about onwards and upwards. It's about being more than I have been previously. Every day better than the last. So I'm looking forward to bringing excellence. And then every evolution of it. So, but yeah, I mean, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. It's been really
I appreciate it. And actually, I did want to ask one question. This guy Skyler was asking. You kind of answered some of this, but he was asking, like, what's your motivation to keep chasing your dream while, kind of trying to balance life outside of training, so to speak?
Yeah. So honestly, there's kind of a simple answer to that, and it's not like the most, I don't say inspiring. It's not the most like, I don't know. So I'm not really balancing. I'm obsessed. My life is around fighting. I have left jobs because they were going to interfere with my ability to train. I have left jobs for like lesser paying ones, or I've, been offered better paying positions, but the hours were going to conflict with my ability to train. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm out. Bye. And everything. I don't really have a social life. The people I hang out with, if I hang out with people, are either my parents or they're the team, and like we get together and watch UFC fights, or like my idea of like a good weekend get together is watching fights or going to fights or cornering my teammates at fights or just being supportive of my team. I don't really have a balance in that sense, but because of that, I'm more balanced than I've ever been. There was a time in my life, particularly like right before I joined the gym, I had 5 part-time jobs. Count them. I was making pretty good money doing that, but acting like I had none. Just essentially just like living out of my car, driving around all the time, like not a good, healthy place to be. Just kind of existing. Didn't have direction, didn't have a goal, and I was just alive, but I wasn't really living. Training, even though you could say it's been limiting in terms of like, oh, well, I can only eat certain things, or I never have time to do anything. And if I do have time, I don't have energy. It's like if, like a friend calls up from forever ago and says, hey, let's go hiking. And I'll be like, not on my day off. Every other day I'm training for like 3 hours. Can we not work out on my day off, please? It's just like, I don't really have anything but this, and I don't want anything but this. This is a really short window of opportunity, this career. Even if I get to fight for the next 10 years, it's only 10 years. It's not much. If I get to fight more, awesome. But no one's guaranteed. I'm not even guaranteed another fight. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow or an hour from now. There are no promises. So it's, if you have a passion, if you have a dream, you just got to go for it. You can't like be wishy-washy and kind of like hope that the right opportunity will come along, or say, I'll wait till I make, X amount of money in my savings and then I'll go pursue my dreams. Or, obviously on some level, you want to be responsible. Like if you've accrued a lot of debt or something, maybe work a job in that field that pays well so you can pay off that debt. That's ideal. Like if you have a dream, whether it's fighting or basket weaving, whatever it is, like whatever your dream is, you don't get to live very long, and your ability to pursue that dream is limited. And it's limited by time, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a negative thing. That's not a thing to be sad about. That's just a fact. And it's, our lives are so very short. And again, it's not a bad thing. For that, they shine all the brighter. It's just a chance to go. It is, you only get the one life, and you have to make the most of it. Whether it's doing something that you weren't sure about, you're like, I've always wanted to, but, kind of an example, and I know this is off topic because, you asked about how do I stay motivated for fighting and training, and now I'm going to talk about something kind of random, but, like, I always wanted tattoos. I thought they were beautiful. I thought they were a really cool expression. I thought they were a really cool way of using artwork and the body to I just thought it was this amazing, beautiful thing. But I was so scared that my parents would be disapproving that I was like, okay, well, I'll just not get one until ever. Or, like, what are you going to do? You're going to wait for the people that would maybe not approve of it to, like, not be around in your life anymore? Like, that's what you're going to wait for? That's not a good thing to wait. Like, you can't be looking forward to things like that, because if you have someone that you love and value and they love and value too, if you have a picture of a little phoenix on your shoulder, it's not going to change. It's not going to change how much they love you and care about you. Whether they approve or disapprove, it's your life. And it's their life to do what they want with theirs. So if they don't like tattoos, they won't get them. And if you do like them, you should. It's just kind of there. And the same thing goes for your dreams, whether it's, theater or a career in music or anything at all. Like, whatever it is, you should go for it. And I stay motivated in the fact that I won't get to forever. There's going to be a day I wake up and I'm going to wish that I had to eat clean, that I didn't get to have whatever I wanted, or that I didn't have all this free time and free energy because, like, I won't get to spend it on fighting and becoming a world champion, becoming world class at something I truly love, truly believe in. I won't have the opportunity. I won't always get to be stuffing a bus driving to Boston for a training trip with our affiliate school up in Boston under Professor Dave Ginsburg. Like, there will come a day where that's not available to me. I won't get to do that kind of stuff anymore. And, I don't want to be ever in a place where I look back and be like, man, I didn't appreciate it. And I know that's how it's going to be. Like, it doesn't matter how much I love it right now. I can't love it enough because I still have it. So the best I can do, the best tribute I can pay to it, this opportunity, is to just take it as far as I can, take it all the way. And you'll never find out how far you can go until you risk throwing yourself off a cliff. Like, you just kind of got to go. You can't have safety nets and second guessing and plan Bs, and, like, you just go. You just got to go.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to describe it, for any fighters, that it's pretty difficult to pursue it when you're not pursuing it 100%. There have been people that have done it, but it's pretty difficult overall. I would say the amount of people that have done it successfully aren't a lot. So. Yeah,
and it's even then. It's usually some confluence of other opportunities. Like, I have a house now. I get to live in a house, which is lovely and wonderful. And the job that I have outside of fighting pays for that. It pays for me to be able to live in a house and eat clean food and all that stuff. If I didn't have that job, I would just live in a crappier, smaller apartment in a crappy side of town. Done it before, I'll do it again. If I couldn't afford that, I'd live in a car. Is what it is. Like, I'm here on this earth to do this thing. I'm here to fight, and that's what I'm gonna do. That's why the money has never been important to me. Like, that will come if my performance, that will come with my performance. That will come with recognition, with time, with all of that stuff. All those opportunities will come from the performance. End of the day, if I'm amazing, if I'm excellent in the cage, anything that I want from this will come from it. But if I split my focus between trying to be good at this and then also pursue and get those things, I'm not going to get either. It just is what it is. So, yeah. Here to fight.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to end it on, because it is a good inspiration, but also good advice for people that are trying to pursue something like that or anything in general.
Yeah. I do actually have a favorite quote that kind of, I don't want to say sums that up, but like it very much speaks to it. And I don't want to butcher the Latin of it, so I'll just do the English translation. It's a Seneca quote. He's a beautiful writings, Stoicism. You should look him up. If you like Marcus Aurelius, you'll definitely like Seneca the Younger. So like check him out. But the quote is, "There is no easy path from the earth to the stars." And if you want something that is grand, something like the stars, there's no easy way there. You just have to accept that it's gonna be full of trials. It's gonna be work, and just go. And like, don't ever question it, and don't even resent the work, but cherish it, because if it wasn't work, you wouldn't be working for something worthy.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that
Okay,
one.
I want to thank you for taking time to do this. I couldn't do these things without people that were willing. And yeah, I'd love to catch up with you sometime in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. It was a pleasure, and I'd love to catch up again.
Well, it was great talking to you. It was great meeting you. And like I said, anytime.
All right, you have a good one.